in the area of healthcare, completely different domain. And this example actually comes from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, right next to our offices in Cambridge. For the students, for the professors, MIT offers medical services, and they have medical staff. But they have very tight budgets. And they have a model of delivering service where they're trying to maximize the quality of care, but keep the constraint on cost as clearly as possible. And what they decided to do was to actually develop some key performance indicators, some clinical measurements, gather them in real time, and publish them across the entire university so that every student, every professor, but most importantly, every doctor and every nurse saw how they're performing against these goals. And then with that, they expect, and they are seeing, that behavior will improve, and that the quality of care will improve, while the costs, hopefully, will continue to be contained. This is the dashboard that they use. These are some of the clinical indicators that they publish. All of this is built on Ensemble. But what's extraordinary about this is that one person full-time and another person part-time created this application and has helped MIT keep their medical costs down. In another domain, in travel, let me highlight an application that's being deployed at Zurich Airport and in Amsterdam. This is an application called Bag Drop, and what it does is it takes the responsibility for checking baggage away from the airlines to an independent agency. If you check in once you've checked in for your flight and have a boarding pass, online, on your smartphone, wherever, you go to this machine, you scan your boarding card, you scan your identification, you provide a credit card, and then you put your baggage into the container. It weighs it, it scans it for dangerous materials, it takes photographs, so that the photographs are associated with your record, so that if it's misplaced, you don't have to fill out a silly little form saying what kind of bag it is, because they know exactly what kind of bag it was. And then it automatically determines the cost, prints it, wraps the baggage, and ships the baggage off to the airline for you. Completely different kind of application, integrating many different services and changing the way people operate. My last example is going to come from the publishing area. This is a firm called PCS, which publishes a range of community newspapers in the United Kingdom. And now in most parts of the world, the newspaper industry is in decline. But strangely, in the United Kingdom, newspapers continue to thrive. They're not making as much money as they used to, but they continue to be hugely popular. And PCS is the largest supplier of community-based newspapers, as well as some of the large national dailies. This example, which I'm sure you can't read because of the tiny text that's on the screen, but this example is phenomenal. As a reporter is typing in a story, perhaps they're writing up an account of a fire, or of a wedding, or of a football match, or of a sports star that got arrested, or whatever it is. As they're writing in that story, in real time, the application is searching all the archives and all the material that's available in news feeds from them, and automatically identifies similar stories. There are no keywords or anything like that. The reporter just starts typing the story and immediately starts getting reports of, here's a similar story published yesterday. Here's a similar story from the same person published a month ago. So the kind of fact-checking that they need to do to make these stories rich can happen dynamically without having to do any research. There's some amazing technology at the heart of this, And I'll actually talk about it in quite an amount of detail later on, because it's one of the key innovations that we're introducing this year. But this is an example of tapping into unstructured data and finding the meaning in text and using it in radically different ways to make extraordinary applications. Okay, so I've talked about these trends. Now let me talk about how they impact us and how they impact you. Because in order for you to respond to these trends, we have to provide you with technology that makes that possible. And you have to know what's important about that. For mass personalization, one of the key things that's important is to deal with constantly changing user interfaces. User interface expectations are not set in stone. They change. They change with people's perception over time. They change as new format devices become available. And new devices are being rolled out constantly today. You need to be able to build your application in such a way that you can deliver information, deliver content on a smartphone, deliver content on a tablet of different formats, deliver content on a desktop, and have your application do all of that, and perhaps do it differently based on the kind of context in which people are working. You need to have a whole array of loosely coupled interfaces. And of course, in order to have this level of personalization across huge populations, in order to have your preferences, your taste, the information that you looked at most recently, you need an extraordinary scalable engine behind you. To tap into this broad scope of data, I gave you two examples. One was sensor-driven data. Another was the unstructured text data. You need technologies that can both plow and discern the meaning in unstructured data and make that available to your application. And you need the ability to deal with this explosion in data. And all of you know that that's something that we've focused on for a very long time. You also need to be able to pull this data from multiple sources, from multiple systems. And then finally, and this again is a theme that you've heard from us last year and before, you need to have an engine that at transaction speed, at transaction pace, can provide you with business intelligence. And that's really the key differentiator between enterprise BI that acts at a distance in time, and a distance from the transaction system. You need to have business intelligence operating at the same rate as your transactions happen, so that you can give new information through your application to someone who can take action based on what's just happened. And what that means is that we see a move away from just thinking about a database, just thinking about an integration engine, just thinking about business intelligence. We feel, and this is not a new message from us, because we've been saying this to you for many years, we feel that having a single platform that gives you the ability to deal with unstructured data, that gives you the ability to reach out easily to disparate systems, to disparate sources of data, that offers at transaction rates the ability to do real-time analytics, that is the platform that you need, not a set of components that you put together and try to make this happen. Because that is what InterSystems has been building. As we've moved from simply focusing on database to expanding through Ensemble to adding Deep Sea. And we want you to think of a single technology platform as giving you what you need in order to build the next generation of breakthrough applications.